Gotta work.
Hey, Mommy.
Yes, Dada.
What you making for breakfast?
We have a special breakfast today. Japanese breakfast with all the leftovers from the week. My fast is complete. We've got spicy egg salad. We got greens. Those mushrooms we found. It's gonna be good. Today is a filming day. We are trying a new thing where we're answering questions in the order that they're received. So we'll try that now. Here, you were gonna fall off from.
Hey, Mommy.
Yeah, boo.
How do you not take on other people's opinions about you?
This is like literally my life's work. Now my whole workshop Fuck List is about this, because being a slave to the opinions of others is the block of the heart chakra. The human journey is the journey of the heart, not the third eye, not the second chakra, not anything else. So it's life's work that we all have to deal with. And when you're not taking on other people's opinions of you, that's what authenticity is. The thing is like, you are not sure of anyone's opinions of you. Sometimes someone that you don't want to be friends with anyway, if you really thought about it, will tell you their opinion of you, and if it's bad, it'll really stick. When people tell you positive opinions of you, like, it usually doesn't stick as well. You can live off a piece of criticism for fucking 6 months. But so much of this is just what you think other people's opinion of you might be. And so I say, put yourself in a situation where you try to actually prove, like, go up to somebody and say, do you think that I talk too much? And like, of course you don't want to do this. So there's no point. If you're like, okay, I'm going to prove, if I think that they're thinking this about me, I'm going to prove it. And of course you don't want to do that. So there's just no point in thinking about what other people are thinking about you, because you can never prove it. And if you're going to be using that energy to think about what somebody else thinks about you, you might as well assume the best, because yeah, what if they're judging you? But what if they're rooting for you? I teach a meditation at the end of Fuck List where we imagine everybody you've ever known rooting for you, big standing ovation, applauding, patting you on the back, the whole thing. And it's, you know, people hear these practices and go, oh yeah, you know, whatever. But like, it's actually doing these practices and not just thinking about doing them, which creates a difference between someone who is confident and someone who isn't. So you can't, you'll never be able to prove that people are thinking what they're thinking, because if you have it in your head that they're judging you and you say, are you judging me? And they say no, you say, oh, they're lying. So it's all just going on in your head anyways. It's life's work. It's something that I've studied from a lot of different angles, but like, you can't be sure about anyone's opinions of you. And if people really are dumping their opinions of you, that they don't like you, like right on your plate, then you tell them that maybe they should go be friends with people that they don't want to change so much, because maybe they want you to be the person they can bitch to about their mom. Well, maybe you have a history of work that involves forgiving mom. They can talk to anyone else in the world about their shitty relationship with their mom. Maybe not you. But if they gotta change you so bad, if they're in your life, but like who you are is just like grinding their balls, like, just tell them, why don't you be friends with somebody that you don't have to worry about changing so much? Because obviously, like, as is not good enough for you, and that's fine. But as is, when it comes to you, has to become good enough for you. And so that's the work of the heart chakra. It's a thing, but study it from every angle, understand that it's an issue for you, and just commit to working it until it's better. Anywhere in your life that's like looking really shitty, commit to working it until it's better. That's a priority for you. So that's how things get done. If you notice that you had a flat butt, you would go target your butt at the gym, hopefully, until you had the results that you want. So just do the same thing with your spiritual practice. And good luck. I think you're cool.
Thanks.
Chaos reigns. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Right, we have our Bruja Report journal, nice and dirty, that we use a lot to plan our days. It's all of the questions that we need to be asked in the day to make sure that we're on point with our goals, but also spiritually on point, tracking our success, our dreams, stuff like that. I love this book. I really just made it for myself.
A really good coffee.
And if you could only get one thing done today, what would it be?
Work out. Maybe go for a bike ride.
Maybe do your work today. You don't have scheduled work today. If you can only get one thing done today, you need to do your work today. Your work today is filming.
You're right. I need to do my work today.
How can the gods bless you today?
With the ability to do my work.
Yes, without mommy strangling you.
Holding me by the balls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to do today?
I have my medium call at 2, and that's what I would like to do today.
Thank you, Violet.
And also get these questions all done. Mm-hmm.
We got a butt.
Okay, just pause the video.
If you could only get one thing done today, what would it be?
It would be to finish all of these questions because they're a couple weeks overdue.
Okay. How can the gods bless you today?
The gods can bless me by showing me that launches, for example, the Enneagram launch that we have going right now, can run with little to no effort at all. But that reminds me that I need to make the TikTok about Chronos and Kairos, the 2 kinds of time.
Good. Okay, thanks. I'm struggling with food addiction at the moment. Any general addiction tips or resources?
Yes, the first thing is to find out what feeling you're avoiding when you reach for that food. The thing about food addiction is like when you feel empty in your life, you feel it in your body as like empty in your belly. But if the feeling that you're avoiding is sadness, like no amount of food is going to make the sadness go away. No amount of food is going to make the sadness go away. And there's a point where eating, you know, it starts as joy, but then it turns into like, I have to do this. And I'll never forget, like my binge eating really ended when I was getting ready, you know, I was starting to feel sad on autopilot. I was headed to the fridge. At that point, the only thing I could like binge on was like almond butter with sugar on top because I was broke and I wouldn't let myself have anything unhealthy in the house. But I remember hearing a voice that was like, you don't have to do this. And before then, I didn't know that there was a choice when it came to binge eating. It was like the feeling came up and all I knew how to do was to numb it. Like when I didn't have any more alcohol, didn't have any more cigarettes, the only thing that I could do to numb that feeling of sadness was to eat. So I fucking ate, you know? But realizing that like, I don't have to do this. Just because that was my realization, like doesn't mean it's yours, but what definitely works is to just figure out what is the feeling that you're running from and then bump that up to the top of the list of things that you need to work. And if the feeling that you're running from is shame, on my YouTube, I have a video called How to Overcome Shame and Sexual Trauma. And if the feeling you're running from is sadness, mamionami.com/painkiller. And if you need to do a lot of these, which all of us do, you can get a printed version of it. Just search Onami book on Amazon and you'll see a book called Painkillers 55 Sheets, 55 of the same sheets so that you can fill it out on paper. Thank you for your question, honey. I've had every kind of eating disorder, so I get it. 2 stories. So you wanted to know how I create things with my mind?
Yeah.
So this is how it works. You and I both have God powers. Every human actually has God powers, and what gods do is they just think about something and it appears. But for us, have you ever tried to just think about one thing? Close your eyes and try to think about just a monkey and nothing but a monkey. Because if you think about nothing but a monkey for a really long time, a monkey will appear. but it's hard for us to hold our focus for a long time. So I meditate to train myself, because if you can see a vision, it will become reality. But
I see square visions in my eyes.
you see square visions?
I do.
Tell me, what are some of your biggest dreams for your life? You told me that you wanted some more friends, right?
Yeah.
Friends forever?
Yeah, but then I had a dream about our house.
Really? Tell me about it.
I don't really want to tell you.
So I'm going to close my eyes and focus my vision on our dream house, because that's how I'm going to get it. Thank you for your question, my love. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Honey, then thank you for your question. You always ask me the best questions. I love you so much. You're my shining star. So there's two kinds of time, my love. There's a time called Chronos. Can you say Chronos? I bet you can't. Then there's another time called Kairos. Can you say Kairos? I bet you can't. This story is really scary. There was a god named Kronos, and he was so afraid that one of his babies was going to take over his kingdom that he said, every time one of my sons is born, I'm going to eat that. I'm going to eat my own son. And Kronos was the youngest of all of the gods, but he looks the oldest. Now Kronos...
Why is he going to eat his own son?
Because that's the nature of chronological or Chronos time, is that it is always devouring itself. That's why people always say, there's not enough time, I'm running out of time. But then there was another kind of time. His name was Kairos. Can you say Kairos? Bet you can't. Kairos was the other type of time, and Kairos actually means weather, or like hand time. And so Kairos was very young, and he had long hair in the front like this, but on the back his hair was bald. And the reason why it was like this is because if you're ahead of Kairos time, Chronos time is about the minutes. You got to be at the right minute. Let me finish telling you this story. Otherwise, Kronos is going to keep eating his babies and you wouldn't know of another option. So Kairos is about the moment. Kronos is about finding the right minute.
Why did he keep eating his babies?
Kronos time is vicious time. We do not want to live in an existence where our minutes are constantly getting eaten up, making us older and angrier like Kronos. Kronos was the youngest of all the gods, but he looked the oldest and he was the most insecure. But Kairos, bald in the front, long hair, because when you're ahead of the moment, you can grab it by the hair. But once the moment once the moment has passed, you can't grab it from the back because it's bald. That's why I got to teach people how to use both kinds of time with my trap ball. This is a clock for Kronos and Kairos time, so you know the right moment when things happen and you're not worried about the time. And what would we do if our moment was ruined because the minute was wrong? If I said we're going to play at 1:30 and 1:30 came and it was raining outside, what would we do?
I don't know.
Well, we would have to wait for the right moment. So there's always been two kinds of time. Kairos is the time that's related to flow, the flow of things. And when things are going good in life, it's because we're going with the flow. And when things are going horrible in life, it's because we're going out of the flow. And when we're out of the flow, it's because we're usually trying to make the god Kronos happy, when actually we should be partying with the god Kairos. You were not recording the entire time, that whole time.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Sorry.
All right, so let's do it again.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you do when you're in a rut and you don't know what to do?
Hit record. And
Oh my God.
what you do
Checking
when you're
the
in a
time.
rut and you don't know what to do. So you're in a rut because you stopped being able to listen to the best guidance system you have, and the best guidance system you have is your own joy. But when you think that life is supposed to be painful, because your whole life has been painful, and all of us get to a point where we realize, fuck, like my life has kind of sucked. It doesn't matter if it doesn't suck compared to Syrian refugees, or everyone else in my family says it doesn't suck. Like, It sucked for me. And when you think that life is supposed to be sad because that's all you see from your history, you cannot follow your joy anymore because you just don't hear it. So what you need to do is bring things down to the smallest possible like chunk that you can think of it. And so if thinking about like what would make me happy to do today, that's why I like the Bruja Report journal, because it's like, if pleasure always leads you to what you're supposed to be doing, the first question you should ask yourself in a day is, what do I want to do today? Not what do I have to do today? And that's why the first question in the Bruja Report journal is like, what do you want to do today? And then after that comes, if you could only get one thing done today, what would you do? And then after that comes, how can the gods bless you today? Because you should pray every day. And that's how, the simplest way to do it. But if you can't think of what would make you happy in a whole day, then think, okay, what would just make me happy for this hour? What do I feel like doing just for this hour? And if that's too far, just say, what do I feel like doing for this next minute? Make a cup of coffee. Okay. Sugar in your coffee or no? Not, I'll get fat if I eat sugar, but what would make you happier? And if you don't want to do anything except for get out of bed, then stay in bed, but do it without berating yourself. Understand that what you're choosing of all of the options.
You mean except for stay in bed?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's so bad.
You threw off my groove. Stay in bed without berating yourself about it. Recognize that you're at the top of the food chain and you choose to stay in bed. Now, if you are in a rut in business and it's your own business, your dream job stopped being dreamy, even if you feel like you shouldn't be allowed to complain and say, okay, I'm over my job, like you have to. And you need to make a list of everything that you do in your job right now, and then a list of the greatest successes that you've ever had, and then draw a line from the specific actions that led to your greatest successes and find a way to stop doing the rest of them. And of those greatest actions, if there's a few things that you're just really over, you never want to do it again, it's one of two things. Either the erotic is dead and you're going to need to learn how to recharge that, which you can do by just staying and be on my newsletter, ask me questions, do my workshops, get as much one-on-one time with me as you possibly can so that I can show you how to make this work for yourself. And when Erotic Wealth comes out, it'll definitely help you with that. But you need to acknowledge it's either the erotic is dead or these are things that you can actually drop. So how you would know the difference is like, let's say you're a writer and writing doesn't make you happy anymore. That means the erotic is dead. If it's something like writing captions for Instagram and it doesn't make you happy anymore, then that's probably something you could delegate, to take a chunk from your newsletter and make it a caption over there. But if you are like if you're realizing that your life was like really shitty and you can't find your joy anymore, you need to just do as many painkillers as possible. Like there's an express version of the grief recovery method. It's what I'm proudest of. I always give it away for free. If you want it printed, you can get it on Amazon. Just search Mami book, and that's how you can find the Bruja Report journal as well. Hopefully our baby isn't wandering up the stairs right now. Let's go on to the next phase. Let's see if we can get out the house today.
Okay.
I gotta go pick up the rubber bands that I threw at you. What's the next question?
Are there times when you should not share something with someone that would harm them?
Yes. So in I believe it's called the yamas and the niyamas, like the Hindu rules for life. The first rule is ahimsa, do no harm. The second rule is satya, which is tell the truth. So you should never, a lot of times the truth, and it's like, is it your truth or is it the objective truth? Because the objective truth is that the sky is blue, but your truth is that cheating on your wife is bad. So there's a big difference between the objective and the subjective truth. A lot of times people don't really need to hear it at all. And if they did, they didn't really need to hear it from you. But in how they would look at this from like a Hindu perspective is that if we were sitting right here and a robber came and ran that way, and right after him came a cop, and the cop says, hey, which way did that robber go? You say, I don't know. What robber? And why would you do that? Because you don't know the whole story, and telling the cop the truth would get that robber in trouble, and you don't know the whole story. And so almost always it is better to not tell the truth than it is to tell the truth and hurt someone. I learned this in a really difficult way. There was a new friend of mine who I knew that her boyfriend had been cheating on her for a long time, but she was a new friend of mine. I was going to be leaving in a couple months, and I was not going to upend her entire life when it seemed like they were working something out on the assumption that she just had to know something that she didn't know. If she needed to know it, she would have figured it out, but it wasn't my place. It took me a month to, going back and forth, finding out what's the ahimsa, what's the satya, but I actually have no regrets about that. So learn it for yourself, or listen to, the Upanishads who laid this down way before you and I ever were here getting in other people's business. You know what I mean?
Right. How much did you get from the psychological commentary series? I'm on book 1.
Idris Shah says that you shouldn't listen to what the question is, but like how someone is asking. And what I get from books, like it's called in the Fourth Way Magnetic Center. So how many quantum questions you've been asking for how long, and how hungry you are to learn, that creates, first of all, the attraction that brings higher teachings to you. And it also creates the bandwidth of what you can absorb from these teachings. So what did I get from the first book of psychological commentaries? Fucking everything. Literally everything. I fucking read and digested and clung to and hugged and was grateful for and struggled with fucking every single word of book 1. Every single word of book 1. So what did you get from book 1? Because if you want to know what I got from book 1, like, look at what I'm teaching. Look at what I put out. But what did you get from book 1? It doesn't matter what I got from it. Nobody else's story is your story. But to be able to be taught, you have to have an empty cup. You can't come with a full cup. You have to be so hungry and wanting to learn so much that you really push yourself, that you don't breeze over it, that you don't have crossed arm energy. It's really, if we read the same book, but it's not really hitting for you, then I would say that you came to the buffet full and I came to the buffet starving. So try reading it, but this time as if you were sitting, maybe it's just not your lineage, but you can't compare with anybody else. I got everything from it. If you didn't get anything from it, it's either not your lineage or you don't really see that, like, this is big. It's a big book. It's a really, really, really valuable book. And Maurice Nicoll, there's so many different Gurdjieff students, but Maurice Nicoll studied with Jung for a really long time before he ever came to Gurdjieff. So my path isn't your path, but if we're trying to make a comparison there, it's just that question, I can't answer that question in any other way except for that. Not taking a dig at you, but one of the requirement for second level teachings is you must be born again like a little child. A little child doesn't think they know everything. They know nothing. You have to seriously be like, all right, I am willing to go from being at the top of my class in the first level to like the absolute fucking beginner struggling to keep up in the second level. And that's what creates hunger. You don't get to the second level on your feet like this. You get there on your knees like this. That's how I got there. And you know what? I've stayed there. Fell off my path a little bit in 2021, but you better believe that it just brought me right back down there. And now I'm going to stay that way. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. How do I get my little kids to stop fighting 24/7?
Oh God, I don't know. The best thing from a human design perspective, split their auras. Kids need a lot of alone time. They really do. And it can be hard to do that, But literally, like at the first sign of them like starting to butt heads with each other, kids don't really know how to share. Kids don't really know how to, you need to just get them in their own spaces. Set the one up with the activity over there, set the other one up with the activity over there. And if they get up in each other's spaces, you know, do your best to just stay out of it. Like, look, whether you're watching the kids or not, they're gonna scream, they're gonna bicker, they're gonna make a mess. So you can either sit there watching it go down, feeling fucking powerless to control it because you like are powerless in controlling it, or you can be in the next room fucking reading a book and understanding that whether you watch them or not, they're gonna scream, they're gonna bicker, they're gonna get bumps and scratches, they're gonna make a mess. Declutter your house as much as you can. Seriously, like if you have clutter in your house, you are not able to receive more money because Lakshmi only visits clean houses, and that's just how that shit goes. But try and open up your house, clear as much open space as your house so that you can observe your kids from a distance. But your kids are gonna your kids are gonna bicker. So either split them up or put yourself in a situation where the bickering doesn't bother you, because you've got fucking 13, 14 years of this to look forward to. So fucking...
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. From a human design process, everybody is here to surrender to my creative timing. And if we think about it from like an economical standpoint, it's like my creativity directly translates into our dollars. Therefore, the family business should revolve around the moments where I'm feeling creative, which is Kairos time, and not the minutes when we think that needs to come through. And so a family business, it's like, yeah, we want my creativity to go with the flow of the family, but as a family business, we also need the family to go with the flow of my creativity. And the kids have not had to adapt to one of us being gone 40 to 60 hours a week to support the family. So what they will have to adapt to is that when mommy and daddy are working, for a moment here and a moment there, we get it done. Thank you.
How do I tune out people's negativity without violence?
Honestly, I've tried it every other way. You can't negotiate with other people's negativity. You've outgrown these people, just block them. You don't need to give them an explanation or anything like that. You certainly don't need to get violent, but I've tried every type of negotiating with them. It doesn't work. I've literally tried every other way. Just block them, wish them the best. They think they're right, you think you're right. You're not on the same vibe. Just let them go.
Right, thanks.
Let me ask you a question. Your turn. Have you ever fed yogurt to a cat?
Never have. Mommy, those Sonics run very fast.
Sonics, hedgehogs run very fast?
Yeah,
Let me ask you another question.
they do go very fast.
Sonic, do leopards eat steak?
I know they do.
Ah!
Sonic does eat steak.
Have you ever seen an eagle getting its little baby in trouble for squawking too loud?
Oh my god, that made me fall down.
Let me ask you another question.
That was so funny. I fell down.
Have you ever seen a queen bee? Have you ever seen
I
a...
have in Cat in the Hat.
Oh, really? In Cat in the Hat you did?
Yeah.
I love that show. Have you ever put peanut butter in a piece of celery and put raisins on top of it and called it ants on a log?
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
I think we haven't made that in a long time. Let me ask you another question.
I also have seen a king bee too.
Oh, you've seen a king bee?
As well.
Have you ever swallowed a watermelon seed?
I did one time very long ago.
Have you ever had a donut with diarrhea on top of it?
Oh my god, I never have.
And I never want to either.
Why?
Because a donut with diarrhea on top would be disgusting. Donut diarrhea, but maybe a dog would eat the doo-doo like that. Those were a lot of D words, huh?
Have you ever had a donut with poop? chocolate chips.
A donut with poop chocolate chips? Yeah, I have eaten a donut with poop chocolate chips. I'm kidding.
Just disgusting.
I'm so disgusting. Have you ever climbed to the top of a coconut tree?
Never have.
Your turn. Ask me a question.
I think I have.
Really? In your dreams? In your dreamscape?
No, in real life when we're at the beach in our beach house.
Hey. Yeah, that was kind of a similar situation. All right, your turn. You ask me a question.
Have you ever had binoculars that shoot poop in your face?
I have never had binoculars shoot poop in my face. Not even once. Cause,
You mean when you put your eyes on them, they shoot poop in your eyes?
but where would the binoculars get poop from? What do binoculars eat to make poop? Because you got to eat something to make poop. What do binoculars eat? Visions?
Celery.
Oh.
How'd your reading go?
The guides say, Brian specifically says that he understands that it can be frustrating bringing you into the business, but in the next couple of years, you're really going to find your own path and to keep giving you the space to do your thing because you're very artistic, but you're going to find a lot more direction. Like just because it's been the last years have been a different stage for you, but you're going to be coming into a new space with it, and that travel is going to be a big part of our lives. And that's not the house, the one that we're looking at. That's not the house. There's a space in between here and the house that we actually buy, which is bigger and better. That one's like a placeholder. It's going to be bigger and better than that one. But there's a space that's quite pleasant and quite spacious in between here and there. But this is still the year of laying down the systems. Next year is going to be where we really see the ball rolling and the impact of a lot of that. But that creatively, things are really going to shift around for you things are going to really shift around for you as well. But to warm up today, we are not going to be a stationary family, so get it out of our heads. We are going to be in motion in our lives, but that it doesn't have to be terrible.
I think we gotta get emotion soon.
Not gonna be that soon, but here we go.
Hi.
Yes.
Why do I have to keep doing painkiller worksheets on the same person?
I don't know who this person is for you, but I can tell you why I've had to do the same painkillers worksheet on the same person, and it's because two reasons. The first one is that when I did it the first time, I was pissed off or convinced that I was right. The second reason is that it's just a big one for you. I've done a couple I don't want to say who, but I've done a couple on a couple people. The thing is sometimes forgiveness or acceptance just looks like the person's an asshole. Sometimes people are just assholes. And nothing that you can do, the forgiveness and the healing would just be accepting that the person's an asshole. And I'm not going to say that for every problem that ever comes up in life, fill out a painkiller and it'll all go away. This is the most expedited form of the grief recovery method, which is a objective way of opening the heart and healing the wounds in the heart. But with grief recovery, it's you wouldn't just do grief recovery over and over again on the same person, but as you remember new things that hurt you, you say, Mom, I need to forgive you for this, and you just add it to the list that you already have going. So if you've done more than 2 painkillers on this person and it's not working, then stop. It's obviously not working. I'm not sure what's going on with that person, if they're still in your life and having an opportunity to hurt you over and over again in new ways. Maybe it's time to accept that person is not going to change and put them somewhere in the world where they can continue doing the same hurtful things, but without it hurting you. If they're not in your life anymore, and you examine the relationship in its fullness, that there were ups and downs and that there were things you wish that you could have done differently, better, or more, then it's time to put that shit to rest. It's time to put that shit to rest any way that you know how. They're gone. They're not coming back. Or if they are coming back and they shouldn't be, then you need to put an end to that too. But no amount of doing like a spiritual cord cutting on somebody will set a boundary for you. And if this is somebody that keeps invading their way into your life and hurting you fresh over and over again, you don't need a painkiller. You need a boundary that says you can do whatever the fuck you want as long as it doesn't touch me, as long as your shit is not touching my shit. And no amount of painkillers is going to set a boundary.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And if they were somebody that you really, really loved a lot, and you're going to really miss them for your whole life, and that pain lets you know how much you love them and how much that love is still there. So that pain of love lost is literally never going to go away, and it's not supposed to. But if you can leave the door on it open, then you'll still have it, because that love was real then and it's real now, and it'll always be real. But just because that love is real does not mean that it won't hurt like hell when you remember it, because it's a lot easier to remember the bad times than it is to remember the good times. When you remember those good times, it can just hurt like hell. So no amount of painkillers is going to cut it, because when you've really, really loved and lost, well, that's just a wound that you keep open with you forever. So it makes you beautiful.
What is your morning routine?
On the days that I can get my morning routine, my ideal is to go to sleep around like 9:30, because your morning routine starts the night before. And I drink a bunch of water so that I wake up to pee around like 4 or 5 in the morning. And ideally I just stay up then, even though my baby kind of squawks and I have to go back and forth. I practice the art of Shivambu Kalpa. I do a meditation first thing, which is Bastrika breathing, followed by some meditation. And then I like to write early and well. And that's my morning routine when I can get it.
Hey, Mom.
Yes.
What's the little business meeting about?
Today we're having a business meeting about if we should do another round of Wheels Reinvented or not, and if that should accumulate in a live kind of performance for that objective Kundalini awakening that we do at the end of all of our work, cleaning out our chakras. We're going to look at some cards to see a couple possible, if there's like any hidden elements that we're not seeing. For example, like we think it's not really a big deal to do it or not do it, and actually it is a big deal. We're going to draft a simple pros and cons list, and then we're going to write down a sex magic formula based off what we know, internally know, and not like the data that we've read from other places. So that's the intention here.
Coffee.
Because we figured out that when you get poison ivy in your ear, I get poison ivy in my ear, and there's obviously something. We've always had like really strong psychic abilities with one another, but we only notice when it's a bad time. So now we're trying to. Except the first time, which was a very long time ago.
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
5 plus.
5.5 years ago, almost. Should we draw a pros and cons list about dating each other? What are the pros of dating each other? Everything. What are the cons? Nothing. Glad we talked. Dunzino. So the first con that I can think of is that I would be booking myself out for like another 6 months of having like this burner going on Wheels Reinvented before my next body of work is able to come through. So the cons is just it would take up some time. there's a way that it could be not so much work, just showing up and leaving, but it does kind of always end up being work. Wheels Reinvented. And it would just mean that the next project, I just really don't feel like, I've always felt this way on an intuitive level, that I can't do the next body of work and this body of work at the same time. The pros of doing it, the pros of doing Wheels again, is I could make a perfect last round, but I've like always said that. Another pro is like, of course it's another money stream. Another con is like, I really feel like I'm being guided not to.
Yeah, it's a big chunk of time.
It's also like what my guides were saying yesterday, is that it's, to my nervous system, it's draining to keep going back to the past, and it's time to close. It's time to close this door for myself, even if it's for no one else. Like, there's always going to be people. Every Eagles concert, they're going to say play Hotel California. But because they play Hotel California every time, that's like the only Eagles song. I call it the Mexican national anthem because they love that song in Mexico. But the national anthem is also very good.
Do they also love just the Eagles in general?
I don't know. I've never heard like Those Shoes or any other Eagles songs in Mexico. But a lot of Hotel California. Well, there's actually like a mariachi version of it. I think it's the Gypsy Kings maybe even do it. All right. Good time to stop the video, I think.
I think you should ask everyone from the case studies you've done already if you can use their work. The one that you would prefer not to use, you can redo while you have these folks.
I actually don't need to redo it because it was the second case study I did in that module, and the first one was fine, but the second one, and actually from an educational perspective, it went wrong, but it went right because the lady was just in such a state, and I was able to see that it would be a documented worst case scenario, I would say.
Well, ask them, maybe even offer something to them for their help too, I don't know. But
well, here's the thing is I offered them my individual one-on-one coaching time for that module. I think that they would be cool. I think that they would be cool with it, and I think that that's a good perspective. So let's look at some cards on that one. So, and yeah, you're right to just tell them the truth of what's going on, and I need to be able to close this up and stop revisiting the same one thing over and over. I can't. I said it was going to be the last round, and it needs to be. And I think that if I ask them in person on the Sahasrara instead of sending an email, that it might be more effective.
for sure.
All right, then that sounds like a go, for sure. Cool, all right, so we came to the bottom of that. Thank you, my love.
Coffee date.
Happy day.
I'm pretty sure she's asking in regards to the workshop, because when it comes to goals that you can set with the Enneagram, there literally are no limits to what it is that can be created, which is why Tesla used it for inventions, which is why you can use it for literally any goal that you have. There's no unrealistic goals, period. There's just unrealistic timelines. So what we're going to be working with in the Enneagram workshop is a timeline that's about every 2 weeks. So I can give you an example of some goals that would be some goals that I think are pretty reasonable to achieve in this timeline. One of them would be to scale your business, to create a new passive income stream, to upgrade your teachings, to move out of the current situation that you're in and into another level, I think that most people's goals will probably be business related. How to write a book, that would be a good one. There's always a way to do it. And even if you had like a very lofty goal, for example, like I want to make $1 million, what we could do during the Enneagram workshop is map out what your $1 million product is and how you would achieve that result, using both practical like business and magical tools to make that happen. But no matter how like crazy the goal is, the Enneagram can get you there, and it works because it's like a clock, right? So if you're measuring the moments, after this step comes this step, and you see that it took me, let's say, 3 months to get from the first step, deciding I was going to buy a house, to the second step, which is knowing where that house, what my location is going to be, then you are able to see about how long it's going to take you to achieve that really big goal. Because once you're on the clock, you're on the clock. And so this is a way of actually getting a timeline for how long a really huge goal is going to take you as well. It's a really useful tool. I devoted myself to learning it because I just wanted to know that my clients were going to get results. I just wanted to know and to not question it in any way. With my other workshops, when I was just kind of like, I think it's complete. I think this is a complete teaching. I've hit I've taken as many questions as people have on it. I have hit what I think are all of the points. If at the end of it people didn't get results, I never assume. There's no such thing as bad students. There's only inefficient teachers. And so I wanted to know that I had something where if people took the steps, they would get results. And so it took me a long time to find that, but that's why it's like indispensable to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
At all times we have like a channel that can access God, and the actions, even our like best actions, our best efforts, like the biggest successes we've ever done, is like as meaningful and as powerful as like an ant pushing a crumb across a table. But if we open ourselves to let God twirl us, to use us however it is that it wants, we have access to all of that power. We have access to all of that power, but what it takes is surrendering our own power.
How do we use it?
We ask. We ask to be shown what to do. We ask to be shown what to do and not just keep moving on our own in all of these different directions. We ask to be... They say in A Course in Miracles that you should ask, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to whom? And that every day the answers will arrive as the day unfolds if you remember to ask. But we listened to like everyone and everything but God for a year when we were building Erotic Wealth, because it was like, desire. Let's put desire at the top and see what happens. And it's like, our desires are stupid because we don't know what we want. It was like a huge oversight that I had, huge undersight. We don't know what we want. And so let's say that, like, using the metaphor of the ant pushing the crumb, like, it's like, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. Super stuck on it. But like, what if that goal was still playing so small? And what if you never needed to manifest anything ever? Because it's really just like pushing the river, getting distracted with things. Like, if you have a destiny that's bigger than you can see right now, and you just surrender to it, you say, all right, do with me whatever it is that you're gonna do with me. And like, surrender doesn't mean like you just start, it's like getting head, you know? Like, if I'm just laying there, it's not very good for you, it's not very good for me. But if I work it, the whole process is not only fun, because I'm engaged with the creation process, but I'm not trying to control the whole creation process. It's more fun for everyone, and it's faster too. So what this is going to look like on a daily basis for me is, instead of visualizing, I'm just going to acknowledge that, like, I'm very, very small and God's very, very big. But for whatever reason, God loves me. Like, God literally loves me and will stop whatever it's doing to work with me and through me. And for that, like, I'm just grateful. And I would take into account all the ways that God's already been working in my life and say, you know, how the only thing that we can manifest is like how we want to feel. So like, you know what I like, this is how I expect I'm going to feel. And because I'm assured of the outcome, like, I can wait without anxiety. But surrendering always feels like giving up. And you feel like, how could I give up on a house? Our family needs a house. I can't give up on this. I need to keep pushing. And it's like, well, we already tried that for a long time. It doesn't work. And as usual, I only surrender when I've tried everything else.
All right, Mom, let's get some questions done. Females with masculine energy. Is it something we accept or try to shift?
He, she energy, delicious. Delicious. But I will say this, there's been a few people in my spheres, like, over the years that have really, really struggled. Everyone gets results except for them. And it's like none of the spiritual work seems to stick. And what's been the core problem every time is unreconciled he, she energy. Like, what people don't realize they're attracted to in me is that I'm very, very feminine, but I'm also very, very masculine. I am direct like a man. I am business-minded like only men used to be up until recently. I am kind of doodly, and I'm very bossy and dominant. And something that you would love about my man is that he's also very feminine as well. So this is not something you want to change. Enlightenment is having your he, she energy balanced, and the most womanly woman will give off a strong he vibe too, and the manliest man will give off a strong she vibe as well. So it's delicious.
All right, your thoughts on astrology and any apps or other tools you use for astrology?
No.
Just none.
I don't feel free when I'm like checking my horoscope and stuff. I just don't feel free. So I don't personally use anything. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just I do things when it's the right moment for me, and astrology just feels kind of like confining to me. I do get down with human design though, but not like the neutrino weather report or anything like that. I just kind of do my thing. All right, what's the last question? Do it again, please.
All right, is it possible to reach enlightenment with a partner who doesn't participate in the journey?
Life in general is easier when you're with somebody who understands you and who you can really look up to and ask their opinion and perspective on things.
Hey, Ryan, not right now. I'm filming Mama.
What? Two?
And that's the answer.
All right. Hey, Mama.
Yeah.
How long's the Enneagram book available for?
Just until the 28th of September. So you guys know that I've been talking for a long time about doing book drops. This is the first little preview of that. So once the book is not available, it's not available. You're gonna have to wait a long ass time. I'll make sure to put a link in the bio for that.
Okay. Is a payment plan for the course?
Yeah, I just put one up. I believe it's something like $180, 5 payments of $180 or $8.99 in full. But that early bird pricing also ends on the 28th. So if you want it, you gotta pay before the 28th.
Okay, thanks. Okay, this question says, new here. Do you identify your guides? Like, do you out a band to them?
I don't know what that means, but I have all kinds of guides, some that I am familiar with and talk to all the time. Sometimes someone brand new shows up and I hang out with them. There are entities, there are dead friends, there are ancestors, there are random spirit beings, sometimes just the elements, but you know, I'm full woo, dude, so I talk to all kinds of things. And I'm taking a mediumship course right now, so probably even more. Thank you for your question. All done.